Hey everybody, what's going on? Dace here, and today we are going to be going over the guide I put together for doing an all clear in Giga Wing. Now, as you will see, this is sped up right now. The first stage, you really don't need anything specific mentioned. You'll get a feel for what to do, and there's really nothing threatening. Throughout the run, I may slow down certain sections just to articulate things, and this is the only time I speed up a stage, but for the most part, yeah, I'll point out just the stuff you actually really need to be paying attention to, or the tricky parts and whatnot, which there is actually one part coming up. It's not a tricky part per se, it's just something I will specify to keep things a little on the easier side. So you get two of these jets. I wait for the guy's second burst, and then that way your second burst from the shield can get the second guy's blast that he does, if that makes sense, because you have the first one and then the second one that goes off shortly after, so you can kind of time things that way. But yeah, for the most part, you're just cruising through, getting used to where the enemies show up, how to deal with everything. But like in most shmups, the first stage is nothing crazy. Now, one thing I will specify, for the most part, this is a no bomb run, or at least like approach. This is not a legitimate like solid run from start to finish. I just did a bunch of different takes from like the different stages just to show what you actually need to do. So yeah, it's not like this is an actual no miss or anything like that. But in this specific video anyway, oh yeah, always launch up, because it's just so satisfying hurling all of that stuff back at the guy. But yeah, what was I saying? We're almost at the boss, but yeah, we don't actually use bombs until the final boss and true last boss. So as long as you can more or less grasp the approach that you're seeing here, you will have oodles of bombs to use when you want to use them, or when you need to use them for tricky sections or just panic moments or what have you. So yeah, if you can get behind what I show in this video, then with some effort, of course, because you still got to put the time in, but you shouldn't have an issue clearing this eventually. I like to clear that pile of things, catching some from the sides and whatnot, but it's all pretty basic stuff. First boss down. Okay, so here we are, stage 2. So because I am specifically doing a guide with the weakest character you can possibly choose, another thing I will say is that if you can get behind like the method you are witnessing here, and you're using a different character, then you have an even better chance of just doing the clear, because you'll be taking bosses out faster, sometimes skipping entire phases of fights because you're just dealing so much more damage. But I just really love this guy, so that's why I'm using him. So I just stay as close as possible so that all three of my waves of projectiles are just doing as much damage as possible. But again, same thing. This stage, there really isn't much, like, sure, you can memorize what comes where and all that kind of stuff, but for the most part, nothing is really threatening. You just need to know when to use your shield and just stay on top of enemies. And for the most part, a lot of stuff is fairly slow moving, bullets that is. So there are plenty of times where a screen may look totally filled with shots, but you have all sorts of time to just kind of weave in and around them. But it's such a fantastic game. I'm getting closer and closer to no missing this. I've done some runs since I first cleared the game yesterday, and yeah, it's going really well. I'm really stoked to do that. So yeah, you can just more or less coast through this level. Things don't really get super, super insane until stage 5. But every step of the way you got to be paying attention, that is for sure. Because it does still throw enough at you that you just really got to watch what you're doing. Now, as soon as you see that last tank destroyed up in the top corner, get right up to the big blue guy, because if you don't, he will open fire with huge red clusters that just target you. So you got to make sure you prioritize getting to that big tank in the middle pretty much the moment he shows up. But you got to make sure that little tiny tank in the top right corner is dealt with, otherwise you're going to have issues. But anyway, here we are at the second boss. You can start just by shooting and then get ready, because that he fires a thing up and down, so didn't mean to bang the table there. And then just shield into that, and then watch out for these big waves that come down. There will be about 3 of those. And then if you want, you can burst just to finish off that phase. And then this is where things get really intense. You can do a method after this section here, I'll point out. When he starts doing these spreads, you can just be at the top of the screen, going from one side to the other to completely avoid. But the reason I'm doing it this way is because I just like being able to do more damage to the front section. And so just, if you need to rewatch this and learn where I'm positioning myself, then do that. And then I clear that section, and then I just inch over, and then I drop down, because these spread out nice and wide, so there's a gap for you to stay in. And then I just inch up again, and then you're ready to just nail that. And then just inch over, damaging as much of that center part as possible. And then I use it there, and then I just hang out right here so that you don't get hit. But when you see the blue streams, that's when you need to move up, because there will be one of those spheres that comes circling down to get you. And boom, done already. So it may look intense, but like I said, just watch where I position myself during that fight, and you're good to go. So this, you can approach this however you want. I just like doing it this way. I just point blank, because I want to get rid of these cars as quickly as possible on the left side train. If you need to bomb or whatever, then just do so. Sometimes when you're below the train on the right side, they'll fire a thing down, and then immediately the shots that come out into like waves from the side will happen, because it notices that, oh, you're in position for that. So sometimes you'll want to keep traveling to the left side of the screen to completely avoid getting nailed by that, because if you just go out a little bit, it's easy to just get hit. But anyway, here we are at this part. This is a perfect example of how it looks like there's a lot going on, but everything is moving pretty slowly. So you can kind of just, yeah, glide around a little bit. There's nothing threatening happening here right now. And then get ready for these guys to drop down. They fire a bunch of fast shots, and then just make sure all these turrets are out of the way. And then I use my shield here to catch and destroy that thing and the big chunk we just blew apart. Now you gotta watch for the blue guys that are hiding up there. But yeah, as long as you're going from one side to the other, you should be good. You just gotta really pay attention though. It doesn't hurt to just use your shield just in case a stray bullet just comes at you. And then pretty much just a little bit to the right of that stone that's sticking out of the water, you can just sit here in one spot doing absolutely nothing, and nothing will hit you. And then you're good to go. And here we are, stage 3 boss already. So you just watch out for that. Sometimes it will be like a triple stream, but you just avoid it the same way. I like getting rid of those big disc things. And stay in the middle as much as possible, but you got to really watch and time things so that you don't get nailed by the beam. But you can stay pretty close to it and you're fine. But the faster you can bring this guy down, the better, because so when these things happen, when he does that spray, you can always just stay right in the middle because it's always open when he shoots it that way. But if this drags on too long, then he shoots out these spinning like razor blade things or whatever, and it's easy to get trapped. So this is a tricky and pretty hectic opening to stage 4 because the red bullets I find sometimes blend in with the background. It's tricky to pick stuff out, so just really be on your guard. But as you can see, we're done that, and then from here you just inch over to the right until all these dudes are gone, and that's how you handle that section. So the black and red ship, this is a very, very simple fight. You just wait for that moment, catch as much of those blue shots as you can, and then you just hang tight right up here. Nothing is going to hit you. You just got to make sure you don't drop to the bottom of the screen and run into the bullets that have not yet left the screen. And you can approach this section however you want, as long as you're kind of inching from one side to the other, and ideally laying damage on the big planes, then you're good. You just got to really watch because there's a lot of stuff happening here. All the red bullets from the tanks, and then what the jets fire. Like it's a mess sometimes. You will always get a bomb from that tower, so always prioritize getting that because it's just super handy having another bomb, as many as you want or need. So yeah, just inching slowly, give your shield time to recharge. Make sure you don't go too far so that you get cut off or anything. And then just rinse and repeat, do the same thing. Just inch over slowly, and then when your thing's ready, just nail him again. And then just watch out for all these tanks coming from either side. And then here's pretty much when I will just clear out that using my shield, and then once again, just inch over. Anytime you can afford to just inch a little bit one way or another or up the screen, it buys you serious time for your shield to recharge, and that comes in really, really handy. So you use your shield there for that attack, and then you just drop down, watch out for the red shots, and then get right up to him. Watch out that you don't get hit by that, and just avoid that. And then again with the shield, stay right on him. He's going to do another laser thing. And then you can just more or less... Sometimes different attacks will happen if you're not damaging him enough in a certain time. But for the most part, this is how it goes every single time. So at the start of the level, you're flashing so you can ignore that first wave if you want. They're not going to hurt you. And then when you get here, you just make sure you go to the side and then back across. I wait for that gap that I just went through, but you want to make sure you're luring the red streams of bullets away. And then just things like up, lure the shots, go down, shoot that guy over. It can take some getting used to just routing this stage, but it's such a blast. And then use your shield. Get rid of as many of those little guns as possible. I like to be over here and then start moving to the left before the red stream starts cutting you off. And then up here, shield all the way up. Ideally so that the second blast just sends a whole bunch of bullets into those two tanks that we just took out. And then just inching over and then up and then down and inch over again to the right to take out that turret. And you get another bomb there, which is great. And then I just hang tight on this side for a second. There are two waves of those flying little dudes. And then you just use your shield again here and then start crossing over. And then I start crossing to the left when that big gold guy shows up that we just took out. and then you want to be over here and heading to the right before, once again, you get cut off by the red stream, because you don't want to ever be in that situation. And then here, pretty simple stuff, just move up, lure the shots, and then head back down and across. The timing is incredible in this stage specifically. Like, oh, the pacing is just fantastic. So for these guys that are doing the big sprays, they always leave their front open. You always have a gap as long as it spreads out far enough. That's something to keep in mind. And of course, things just get really wide and open once the attack pattern spreads out anyway. So they look threatening, but they're not. It's just everything else that can happen during these dudes' attacks that can trip you up, like the guys that I just took out, sending like a solid stream. Here's another very simple fight. You just wait for that moment right there, and then go to the side, because he has two big streams like that. This is slowed down. And then you just have to deal with a few little pieces like that. And then use your thing again. If you don't do enough damage, he will start another attack, so you want to make sure you reflect or deflect or whatever, as many of his shots as possible. And then go from left to right for that wave we just dealt with. And then use your shield. Just learn... here's a perfect time where you could just be bombing, just to make a breeze of this whole thing instead of attempting to do it without bombs. But this is just to showcase how you would go about it without relying on bombs. And then you just wait for the wave of excuse me, the wave of dudes that's coming down here like that. And it's on to the stage 5 boss. Okay, so just in between there, then get back into the middle, otherwise you'll get hit by the beams. So use your shield right here, and then get back, follow him to the middle, and then I just inch over like this, and then I stop about there, and then I inch over again, and I go up like that to avoid that. And then I get ready to use my shield again for this attack, which is in slow motion. Now, depending on how things are damaged, this fight can go a number of different ways. Sometimes he'll do one attack, sometimes it'll do something else. It just really depends. But when you see that blue burst and those beams, it usually means there's a spread attack coming of one sort or another, so you want to be ready to use your shield if necessary. And then you just stay away from that. Give yourself time to get your shield back. Do another big burst. And then again to the opposite side. Just let things spread out more so you have space. So I damaged him enough, but what he was about to do is just a solid, huge clustered stream that targets you, and you just need to inch over. It's nothing threatening. You can use your shield to just send a whole lot of damage into him, or you can use that time to save up a shield for the next attack if you need to. So for here, you just stay to the side. I time it so that I wait for those two blue attacks that just happened on the right side, and if you wait and do it there, then you have enough to use it again to finish off the whole pattern here. And now we're into the second attack. So for this, you just go up like that, just inch up to the corner, and then down, 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 and then use your shield again. And second attack phase is done already. So for this part, he sends a bunch of blue shots like this. I dodge the first one, and then I'll use my shield to take out the rest that you would normally deal with. And then you just need to dodge one or two, which is pretty simple stuff. These days, I only do one at the first, and then after the attack, there's just one more attack, just because I have the timing a little better compared to when I recorded this one. But yeah, for here, prioritize damaging those guns as much as possible. Ideally, you just get rid of that one super quick, and then just start avoiding all this. Make sure you watch out for those huge bullets or missiles or whatever they are that are coming down. And then it's just, at this point, it's only the red stuff that you got to worry about and the golden things. So get into the pattern here and then start inching over to the left. And then about here, you can use your shield just to launch yourself over here and damage the guns again. And then there will be a blue burst coming up right here, and there isn't much of it that you actually need to deal with. As you can see, there wasn't much. And then it's just red stuff, and then blue again, so you'll have your shield ready again. And then just prioritize getting that last section done. And now here you'll want your shield ready because this is a pretty nasty attack. It's not the craziest to deal with, but it's so easy to take a hit that you might as well just do that. And then it'll be ready again for this red, which is problematic at times. So for this, I slowed this down. It's a really simple thing. You just go to the edge and then back. As long as you have that timed perfectly, you'll make it through. And then you're just inching around. Stay to the outside and then back. Otherwise, if you drop straight down, you might run into the gold flame when you're attempting to avoid the blue shots. So if you use your shield right when I did, you'll destroy that whole section before it does anything. And then you can just kind of like inch away to the side, use your thing again. And if you're panicking, this is one area where I will typically use a bomb. And then of course your shield is ready again if you need it. Some people go over top of the brain and just stay in the middle. I didn't do that. I almost took a hit here. I'm not sure what was going on there, but I like just doing it the other way. You got to be really careful that you don't get cornered because some of the rings will feel really fast and other ones are going at different speeds. Plus the gold and orange colored things that he's launching out. You really, really got to watch that. Just stay in the middle for that green burst and then just move around like this and make sure you watch out for that and then just get right back on him with the damage. These days, I don't do it that early. I will wait and catch most of the blue and the red shots just because it's way safer. If you've made it to this part, you are pretty much not going to mess up because these streams of blue are just going so slow that you have plenty of time to just inch around safely and slowly, and you can get your shield again. And there's the final boss. So we just have the true last boss left, which is where we'll use a few bombs. These days I pretty much have it down to 2 bombs currently. But anyway, so we'll start with red, green, green, red, and then that burst, and then more of the red, green. So you just got to really watch that. When he's doing this, do as much damage as possible without getting hit, because you just want this medallion thing to just blow up as soon as possible. And then I position myself here and just start inching over, use my shield about there for that, and then I just avoid that. So this is where you really, really want to keep your damage on him all the time. I just go through there, I use my shield to catch all that stuff, and then I just stay on him this whole time. And you should, on average, get a bullet cancel right around there. And then just stay to the side like that, and then just inch over. Use your shield for this insane attack, and then bomb. And then use your shield again, which should be ready by that time. And just bomb again. I have yet to figure out a way out in which I want to go about no bombing that attack, but it is what it is. So if you've made it here, you are pretty much, it's not guaranteed. Like obviously you can still mess up, but you got, if you have bombs and your shield, you should be good to just totally clean this up. I didn't want to take a chance there. So I just used a bomb, and then of course you can use your shield just to, do that. And another bomb just to be safe. And he's gone. So there you have it. I'm trusting this has somewhat helped make sense of Giga Wing, how to approach it. Like I said, if you're using another character, you'll likely have an easier time with it. Anyway, this part's sped up. Thanks so much. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I really appreciate everyone checking this out. And yeah, I'm still having a blast with this game. I'm still playing it. It's just such an awesome time. So anyway, we will see you next time. Have a great one, and thanks again for being here.